your question, Jerica, in a roundabout way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it really does focus on kind of, like you said, almost the four pillars of connecting employers to schools, to the chamber, to the parent community, to the student themselves. I think that's a really great way of explaining it. Absolutely. And Crystal, from the chamber's perspective, could you share with us a little bit about what the need was that you saw? Why did you guys get involved? What was the need for this type of connection or ecosystem between these four pillars?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jerica. Our area has had and continues to have and experience tremendous job growth. While we celebrate, as you see on the slide, our population growth, our employment needs far exceed our current residents. So our county's unemployment rate hovers around 2.3%, 2.1%. Recruiting from out of town, as you all know, is extremely difficult. It's costly. There's no guarantees connected to that. So the need underlying the ecosystem was to keep our young talent here and to generate career interest at home. So that means aligning the community with local talent. So all of that was just really important to us and the impetus for connecting with YouScience. So.
Absolutely. And John, when we first started talking about YouScience weeks ago, when we started planning out this webinar, one thing that we focused on was the need to kind of meet students in the middle and high school level in order to keep them here, right? Could you tell me a little bit more about your perspective on that and kind of how you see it at the community college level?
Well, and Crystal has a great point. What she just mentioned it's so hard to recruit, employees into the market a lot of times, and it's really it's very disappointing to myself when we can't retain individuals in our market and keep them in our community. And so, one thing I think we discussed, Jerica, at one time is, a lot of the community college students that I work with on a daily basis are from this community and will live in this community the rest of their life till retirement age, possibly all the way to death. And so we need to make sure that we are giving those individuals all the tools that are needed to be productive citizens in this community. And that will be what grows our community even and makes our community an even better place to live than it is today. If we do not do that, and it's a reality, it's not a negativity, but it's a reality. If we do not do that, many of these individuals are still going to be in our community, but they're going to be underemployed. They're not going to reach their potential. Our community possibly will have more trouble recruiting employers in, especially when we're working 2% unemployment right now. So we need to start with those people in our community, and really the low-hanging fruit is starting with these 8th, 9th grade students in there. We recognize that we're going to deal with something over a generation. So what we're doing today with YouScience and on these assessments, we may not reap the reward for it for 4 or 5 years down the road, but we also recognize that if we do this and when we reap that reward, it'll pay dividends possibly for the next 40, 60, 70 years down the road, because we put these students on a pathway that actually fits them and one that that they are very happy with.
Absolutely. And I think just for some of our listeners who may not know what assessments we're talking about, if you've never heard of YouScience before and you kind of want a little bit of background on that, the YouScience assessment itself is an aptitude-based assessment. So it's in the form of brain games. What we do is we offer these students an assessment of brain games. They are psychometrically valid. Students will take the games, and then we identify based on those results what they're naturally skilled at doing, what they're naturally capable of doing. And then we combine that with our database of careers that are matched to those aptitudes. So we're able to tell a student at that early age of 8th or 9th or even 10th grade, this is what you are capable of doing. And a lot of times it's things that they've never heard of before because maybe no one in their family has ever done it, or maybe they never thought that it was a possibility for them, or maybe they have interests elsewhere because they're 14, 15 years old and they are not quite interested in manufacturing or construction or IT yet. And so what YouScience does is we provide all of this information for a student and say, this is what you are capable of doing. This is where you will feel successful, where you will feel fulfilled. And we're able to connect them and show them the pathway. Here's what kinds of schooling you'll need, whether it's a certification program or a 4-year degree. We're able to show them different programs that they might get into at the high school level. They might take an automotives class or a welding class in order to push them into that right direction for what career would be a best fit for them. So instead of having those students go to the community college and go, I don't know what I want to do, help me figure out what major I want, which I think, John, you see a lot where students show up and they graduated high school, but they don't know what to do after. They don't have any plans after. And so a lot of them are going to major in something that may not be relevant to them or maybe a waste of time for them, where they don't really have the aptitudes necessary to be successful. So that's what we do. We kind of connect those dots for students so that we can connect them to employers as well. With our new, we have an employer platform within the site where students can actually see what are the local opportunities for my aptitudes. What can I do right here? So my next question, I guess, is for Crystal and Amber. Could you tell us how the Chamber found Discovery or the YouScience assessment and realized that it was the key part of the solution to connecting kids to the right local jobs and creating this education to career ecosystem?
Yeah, so we actually, it was in around 2019 when we had found YouScience. There was some, just looking around, I know it was really big in Georgia. We had some YouScience representative comes in and talked to us about it, and the West Alabama Chamber of Commerce, they had utilized it. And for us, we just saw all the benefits and thought that it was really something that we could use in our community, in our schools and our industries, that there are all these tests and assessment, but the YouScience really for us was all about seeing the kids find out what they're good at and what their aptitude, rather than their interest. And so it just really thought that's where we really just put it together and wanted to see how well it did with our community.
And Jerica, I would add also, we have a summer welding camp for girls called Sweetie Camp, and it also highlighted the fact that a tool like YouScience Discovery helps identify the underrepresented students in our community. Non-traditional pathways is so important, in identifying. YouScience is so important in identifying that. So it just made perfect sense to us as we learned more and more about YouScience and to invest in this for our community. It's a way that students, parents, and educators could help them make major career decisions in a creative, fun way. So anyway, we have so many resources, as you've heard, the largest community college system, robotics technology, training facility, and so on. And, we just felt like there's no place like home for our students to be able to choose a career pathway and get a jump right here. So, and connecting them with YouScience was just a great investment for us. So.
Absolutely. And I think, Amber, you kind of pulled some of the data out of the YouScience assessment. Are you seeing kind of a pattern? Where are your highest level clusters? What is that top aptitude career cluster for the Decatur-Morgan County area?
So the top aptitude that we have here in our community is advanced manufacturing. So those, I looked at maybe the top 6 and pulled from that, but you've got health sciences, agriculture, IT, and all of these, construction, obviously teaching. But when we talk about those, trades and welding, and when you have, advanced manufacturing, we're heavy industry community and, construction. So pulling all that in there again, that just we want to see what our kids, what are they interested in, that we have jobs for them right here. Again, this is all about giving them the tools to keep them here in our community. So, and that way, when we can go to our investors and our members, and we can show them this is what our students want to do, and we have those jobs here, it just makes everyone work more cohesively and as one.
Yeah, I loved seeing that data, just that because Decatur is a very heavy industrial area, to see that advanced manufacturing being the top career cluster, I was like, this is perfect. We have the talent in our town. It's here. We just need to keep it here, like you were saying. So I just thought that was very serendipitous.
Yeah.
So why YouScience? Why did you guys choose YouScience as the tool? Why not something else?
So for, there are other assessments out there. I think YouScience for us, what makes sense, and it may be a little redundant to say, but the kids, when they take the assessment, the brain games, it's not like they're taking a test. They're really playing a game. And so they play all of these games. And when they get done, it says, hey, you're good at doing this career. And it gives them these career pathways. And hey, guess what? You can do this job right here in this community, because these industries that are right here in our community have these jobs available. So it was just really the fit of it. It wasn't just giving them a test and saying you might be good at this, these three things, and then letting them go on. I think John mentioned that earlier. We really want to connect them to a career pathway. And I don't think there's an age that's too early to start that. For us, the 8th, 9th, 8th grade, 9th through 12th grade is where we're going with it. But like I said, it's just really important to keep them on that path, and keep them on that path through high school and after high school, so that they can get a job and continue to give back and work right here.
And to that point, I believe we all need a balance to be happy, and that's in our careers, in our lives, or anything, but especially in that career pathway as we go through life. And I guess what made me a believer in this program is it really looked like this was the total package. And I mentioned it earlier, it wasn't just aptitude, and it just wasn't interest. It kind of brought it all together, interest and aptitude. And I think that in the long run, that's what an individual really needs to be set up on the right pathway as they go through there. I think and a lot of this is, I think it's not data, I'm pulling this out, but we have to believe that if we're surveying or assessing multiple parts and pulling them together, that it has to be more valid, and the students hopefully in the long run will find that happiness and their careers and stay home. And that's, no one won't be shopping around, or Jerica, as you mentioned, they won't show up on the doorstep here at the community college after they've gone somewhere else, whether it's into the world of work or to different educational institutions, and show back up here trying to start their life over. Hopefully we've helped streamline that process a little bit. So we want each individual to reach whatever their potential is, and hopefully the way this initiative comes together, it gives them all the tools that they need.
Definitely. I was just looking at the chat, and we did have Kendra Burnside. Hi, Kendra. You're from Greater Springfield, if I remember correctly. You're also one of my other clients. So hi, welcome. I wanted to answer your question. You put in the chat, what percentage of your school districts participate with YouScience? And I thought this was actually a really interesting question for Decatur in particular, just because the Decatur-Morgan County Chamber, and you guys can speak to this a little bit as well, the original purchase was to cover just the high schools, right? And then the first year went really well. The second year, we actually had several middle schools, and Elisa, you can kind of talk about your rationale behind this. We had several middle schools in Hartselle City Schools, in Decatur City Schools, who said, we want to jump in and get this done at the middle school level, not just the high school level. So Elisa, could you talk a little bit about why you made that decision?
Yes, we participated with our high school students the first year that the chamber purchased this for us. And that's when COVID hit. And one thing to keep in mind if you're an educator is you can't just give the assessment and be done. There's got to be follow-up and conversations with the students, and we have a plan made. But I was very interested in offering this to my 8th graders who are on a different campus. They're on our junior high campus. And because our students are making career decisions and making those career pathway choices for their high school careers as early as 7th grade. And I just wanted to have a little teeth to the interest inventory. We use Cooter as an Alabama interest inventory, but it doesn't have that aptitude piece to it, because we had numerous students who are saying we want to be engineers, but they're in remedial math. And so it's kind of not logical that they're going to go that route. And so this gives us a little leverage with the students to say, well, hey, have you ever thought about the advanced manufacturing pathway? And we had added that manufacturing pathway to our high school. And so it helps us align our curriculum with them. And we're trying to make sure, our goal is to make sure that we have all of our students assessed by next week, so that the following week, when they start filling out their choice cards for next school year, they have an identified pathway that they could pursue because it aligns with their interest and their aptitude. And then we have numerous follow-up pieces that we will be doing with the students after this piece.
Absolutely. And so I realized that I was just so excited about the continued growth in Decatur and Morgan County. Percentage wise, Kendra, if you want like a specific percentage, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I will say that we have every high school in the 3 districts, if that's correct. And then we've also got, Elisa, I think Hartselle Junior High is the only junior high in your city school, or in your.
We only have one high school and one junior high.
So it's 100% in Hartselle City, and I would say over 95% of the other 2 school districts. We don't work in the elementary schools just because the system's not ready for that, but we do have every middle and every high school just about in Decatur-Morgan County. So it's pretty fantastic.
And Jerica, what we did when we gave the assessment 2 years ago in 2020, about this time, we had given it to our 9th graders. They are now juniors. So what we did is we took this year and we're assessing all of our 9th and 10th graders because they missed it because of last year and COVID and not getting our students together on campus regularly. And then we purchased additional for the 8th grade students.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Another question came in for the chamber staff. How did you push this out to schools and get buy-in? That's a really good question, Kendra. I was actually about to ask that. What was that, what was the heavy load that you had to lift to get the schools to actually use this? What was the load that you had to lift to get the chamber to buy in, your members?
I can start, and Crystal may want to jump in. I don't want to say there's no obstacles because we obviously started this and we had COVID hit. But to be quite honest, bring all of your superintendents together, get your career coaches, some industry, bring them to a table and show them this program. And there's really no questions. It's a win-win for, like we're saying, our future workforce, our educators, and our industries. As far as membership buy-in for the chamber, our investors and our members are always, they're 100% supportive on anything we're doing for workforce. And it's such a 2% unemployment, we can't getting the workers here. So we're going to go to our next thing. We're going to make sure that our students are equipped to take these jobs that we have available here. So the buy-in was not very hard, but you do need to bring the right people to the table. And I think that bringing your industry, like I said, your school, career college, community college, all of those people together, and that's what we did for our chamber and our community.
Amber's exactly right. And when we decided to do our last capital campaign and our strategic planning, workforce development, talent development was top of the list. So, just connecting our business community and our school systems together, that's the easy part, and getting them on board. Certainly, they totally understand the importance and they want to be relevant. They want to make sure our school systems that they're teaching and implementing programming that is beneficial to our students as well as the business community. So it's a perfect fit.
And that does kind of bring us over conversationally to more of the employer side of things. So I wanted to ask Michelle a couple of questions. What do you see as one of the biggest positives of having YouScience and of having this data to kind of back up and say, look, we have the advanced manufacturing here. How does that change things for you from the employer's perspective?
So, as Crystal hit on and Amber had hit on, we're roughly at a 2% unemployment rate in the area. We've got lots of businesses. 3M is a Fortune 100 company. We have a very large plant in the Decatur area. So we're blessed that we have good hiring opportunities in the area. But I would say over the last several years, as we continue to grow with such a low unemployment rate, it even provides a challenge for us, both from the engineering side. But if you look at advanced manufacturing as a whole, you've got advanced manufacturing operators, you've got multi-craft from a maintenance standpoint, procurement managers, supply chain managers, analysts. It's not just engineers that we need. And this tool kind of partners the two of them together to help get us the leverage, encourage those alternate careers in the community from our standpoint, because for every one engineer that I have, I probably have 10 to 15 other positions that we have at the plant site that are also very, very high paying jobs. And I think YouScience here, like everybody has kind of reinforced and talked about, is it really partners the interest with the aptitude to say, hey, if you are in the remedial math or not in AP calculus, you can still have a great job working with your hands, problem solving, doing those types of things in a very value-added career that's available right here in the community.
Absolutely. I think so. Before my time at YouScience, I was actually a middle school teacher. And one thing that I will say,
Jerica, I think you froze a little bit. Is everybody else experiencing that?
Yes.
Yes, I was thinking I froze
say
for a
coming
second.
from,
Oh, she's back.
sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good phrase.
Amber, do you want me to address the Kendra comment on our follow-up?
You can, that'd be be great.
Am I here? I'm so
Okay.
Well, Kendra, I see your comment about what we do to follow up with our students. In our district, we've got several different things that we're doing. We are meeting with groups of students based on those interest assessments and what YouScience gave us. And we are also trying to have counselors in the schools meet with students individually to make sure they get those choice cards filled out correctly and talk through some of those options that they have. We're also doing tomorrow, in fact, I and our workforce coordinator, we're going to be meeting all day long with our 8th graders and explaining all of the career pathways that exist in our high school and how those transcend into the Calhoun Community College dual enrollment opportunities and the AP opportunities and anything else that they're interested in, the FAME, the apprenticeship type programs. We're going to be sharing all of that information with those students. And then after that, the counselors are going to be using an advisory period where they will take students and we'll have industry speakers come in based on their area of interest. And some of our Sunoco reels, they are going to come in and talk to those interested in advanced manufacturing or in production and other industries. So our city chamber and our Morgan County chamber are both helping us place industry professionals in there to speak to those. And it's going to be called a lunch and learn. So the 8th grade students who are interested in that and want to learn more in depth, then they'll come in and have lunch and listen to speakers of that industry interest.
excellent. Hopefully you guys can hear me a little bit better now. Am I back?
Yes.
You're
Okay.
back.
Perfect. Thanks. Yeah, thank you, Elisa, for sharing kind of a little bit more of the educator's perspective and how you're using it with all of those different aspects and kind of the pathway of what YouScience can do. So I appreciate that. I wanted to talk a little bit with kind of just the whole chamber group. If a chamber from a different community, a different economy reached out to you and said, okay, you kind of piqued my interest. Why should we use it at our chamber? Why should we implement this? How should we implement this? What would you tell them?
Okay, I'll go. So I would say, for you got to think about the labor shortage that we have right now. So we can't just find workers. We need to start young. We need to find out what they want to do, what they're good at, and what we can offer them here in our community. So that's what we're doing, is making sure that we get those students young. We show them what they're good at, and stay on that career path, because we have, 40% of our graduates that do nothing. We have no idea where they're going or what they're doing. So we want to prevent them from just, not working and doing something when we know that the talent is here. So I would just say, to invest in your future workforce, because I think that's going to benefit you on down the line. It is going to take us some years to get there to see the result, but I think it's just a great investment for our members, our investors as a chamber, our school system, our kids, for them to be, our future workforce. So that's kind of my thoughts on that.
I would add to that, I've thought about this along the way as we're assisting our students and our counselors and career coaches. Our parents are involved as well, and we're creating quite an awareness amongst our parents as well. So, John mentioned we have a population that are underemployed. So, it just creates an opportunity of an awareness in our community of what's out there. There are so many career opportunities available in this area. And again, recruiting from outside is so costly and, haphazard sometimes. And so, just the more we share those opportunities, the more it benefits our area and the ability to keep people here and, continuing to have, to grow, so.
And one thing I've noticed too, that it's made students aware of careers that they never have heard of. We have a student that went on into the FAME program for industrial maintenance at Calhoun. And when he started to apply for it, he was like, his parents said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Well, he originally said, "I don't know if I want to do this. It's maintenance. It's cleaning up in the building." And he had no idea what it was. So it's opened up conversations that we have with the students about, hey, and here's the career potential you have with this. And if you wanted to go on to engineering, a lot of these industries will pay for you to go on to an engineering degree. So at no cost to your family. So it has opened up a lot of conversations.
Absolutely. John, did you want to add anything, or Michelle?
Jerica, I was going to snag a question from Susan in the chat there about, YouScience in place in their county system. We know that pain. I assure you, everybody representing Decatur-Morgan County on this call knows how it is with limited resources and, and having initiatives being underutilized. But one thing that I really feel, and I'm very passionate about this right now, is we have got a great team in leadership roles and from industry to the chamber, to the education partners in Morgan County right now. And it's probably better than it's been in decades in the area. And we have educators that really have an ear turned to what our employers are asking. And if not, we are working the leadership to make sure those educators get turned the right direction. So right now in Morgan County and Decatur and Hartselle, the three school systems we serve, I can tell you that the culture has gone that it's all about education, and it's a holistic view of education. And it's not, yeah, we put a lot of focus on, we want some high ACT scores. We want some AP classes. We want, we want the best of the best, but we also want it to be all inclusive. And so career development has just as much priority as anything else in our systems right now. Elisa, you may want to speak to that a little bit, but once everybody got on what I call the same train, started going the same direction, rowing the same direction, it's really, become easy to us to get this in there. And really, do we not hear some negative every now and then? Of course, we're going to, it's like any other initiative, but usually we push on through it, correct what may have went off the rails, and it's turning into something that bigger than I ever thought it would turn into. But I don't know how to answer on the strain of resources. I assure you that we're probably in the same place you are, Susan, with resources in your area. We'd love to have more than we have now. I feel for those and the career coaches and the educators that we have right now. They're under more strain than they've ever been. But I cannot speak enough good words for what we have going on with the buy-in that we've had. And I really, once again, on the 4 pillars, I bring it back to this chamber. They've been the pivot right there that's worked this for us. The community college could not have come in and done this. I don't know, Michelle, you might could have pushed it through, but I don't think 3M could have just pushed this in. We've had to, the chamber, if it hasn't been for the relationships with the chamber and education and business, and then being that pivot point, this would have never happened in Morgan County.
Yeah, I think it was the great partnership with the chamber right there, with education, business, our community college systems, really having a frank discussion as how do we make our county better? How do we make sure we're doing what we need to do for our students and providing the industry what they need?
I was going to add, I know this kind of goes along with this. Sandra had asked a question I saw on how many businesses are profiled on YouScience, and I think she's probably how many we have. Sandra, just to answer that question, that is the vision. So at this point, all of our schools, all of our kids, our 8th through 12th graders are taking the assessment. And then we will be having meetings with our industries to have that piece where they will all be signing up. So you asked on how do we get the business to log on and complete the profile. Again, we will be having, whether it's Zoom, whether it's in person, however that looks and however that works for the business. I'll just tell you the vision is to have, 3 and 4 get together, show them what YouScience is and have them log on and sign up and put their jobs that are open so that they'll know that those 11th and 12th graders that are going to the workforce very soon can get on there maybe and start looking. So that is the vision on businesses that will be signed up on YouScience on our side.
And the way that works for the employer side of it, if you're curious, if part of that question was, how do I get my employers in on that? We have engagement managers for employers in particular. If you reach out to me, my contact information is on one of these slides here. But if you reach out to me, if you've got a list of employers that you'd like YouScience to reach out to, one of the big differences between YouScience and any other job board is that we're connecting the actual talent to the actual employer. We are not purchasing a list of employers or businesses and then just uploading all of their information and telling students to kind of click around. Every employer that you see on YouScience, and we have about 64 in the state of Alabama right now, we only launched this employer connections portal I would say maybe 3 months ago. So it's still kind of early. So 64 in just a few months is not it's not a bad achievement. We're pretty proud of that. And it's growing every single day. But the way that works is you just have your employers log in. It takes them about 5 minutes to upload a logo, to look at the YouScience profile. They can take it themselves if they're interested. They can upload a link to their careers page so that students can very quickly click and see, I am connected to this company. What jobs do they have available, and how does that match me and my aptitudes? So that's kind of what it looks like. And like Amber said, Decatur-Morgan County is still, we're only 2 years into this, and it's been 2 years of pandemic. So at this point, we've got the students logging in, and our next step is to really build up that employer engagement for, maybe next year. But for right now, it's still in the pathway.
Jerica, I'm going to jump in real quickly. I think a great time to just open it up for broad questions, but wanted to see if there are any things you wanted to touch on before we sort of transition into that phase. I know we had a pretty good outline of the discussion, but if there are any points you'd like to make or anything that you want to tee up that might prompt some questions from our group.
Hey, Beth, I see a question from Kendra about having pushback from any other school staff or students.
Please go ahead.
And we are, I don't know if we're just in a great location or what, but our superintendent is 1,000% on board, and pretty much everybody in our area is that way. And our bottom line is what's best for kids, and this is what's best for kids. We want them to be successful. Their parents want them to be successful and off their payroll, and this is the step that they've got to take to get to the resources that are out there for them. And another thing that we did is we sent, in case we were worried about some teachers having buy-in, we sent invitations to some of our teachers and said, you take it. And some of them were like, oh, wow, I'm doing the wrong job. But, it's insightful to them. And the teachers that took it they enjoyed taking it as well and finding out information.
Yeah, that's true, Lisa. Anyone that has any questions on pushback or just curious if it would even fit with your community, ask for the free test. Let some employers take it, some people, your staff, your educators, or your superintendents. That's where you need to start. Your career coaches, that's where you start. Let them take those tests and they'll see.
And there's great follow-up. I mean, the kids have access to this for 10 years after they take it. So they can go back once they go off to college and say, hey, this is what I was interested in then. And it's got a resume writing piece and all these other features to it. It's not just a one and done piece. So it's got some longevity to it. And so I think that will help get some buy-in as well when you see some of the data that comes from it.
I couldn't agree more. I think you're absolutely right. It kind of is that whole package. Not only do we uncover the talent, but then we help with resume writing. We help with planning what does college or post-secondary anything look like for that specific student. We show them the pathway to get there, what certifications they might need, what type of work, job study type of positions or opportunities are around them. We show them qualifying positions for them locally, like 3M. And then, like you said, they can come back over and over and over again. So if they do decide to change their mind later on, if they go to a four-year university and pick a major and spend all this time and go, man, that I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I need to do something else. They can always come back and pivot a little bit and try something that may be a better fit for them. And rather than having them go through all of that trouble and all of that student loan money and all of that time, we can reach them at a younger age and show them what they can do that would be their best fit. So I just love that. And then Beth, did you want to kind of moderate the questions and ask us?
I think you can go ahead and take them. I know the group is doing a really good job of keeping up with the questions in the chat. I just want to encourage everyone to go ahead and post your questions about anything you've heard or anything that might be on your mind that hasn't come up yet. One thing that I would be curious about, is there anything along the way, pandemic aside, that you would have done differently? And is there anything that would have gotten you to where you are now any quicker?
Well, we've been pretty intent on meeting our goals because we have a big career fair coming up in 2 weeks, and we want to have all students assessed before that time. And that's where we're bringing in parents and industry and students on a night event to hopefully see these pathways that they have identified with, and then that's our next steps.
All right. Well, if you guys didn't want to add anything else to that about how maybe you would have done something differently at the chamber level, possibly, is there an answer? Did anybody want to answer that?
Go away, COVID. I mean,
Yes.
Like, everyone was great. I mean, Crystal, you may can add to that on.
Well, that certainly did kind of cause us to pivot. wanted to have a very large rollout event, which we were unable to do. And so we had to do very strategic, smaller events to educate, our folks on what it is and why we're investing in that kind of thing, rather than a big, full-blown event. And so, but, like everything else, we're making it work. And, and as you can see, it's been successful. It's just been a little bit slower than, it would have been had we been able to do a larger type rollout and event. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I will go ahead and jump into some of the questions that I'm seeing here. Let's see, any resistance from the chamber members or employers that don't fall into a science category? Small business retailers and hospitality are struggling to find employees and could be a good career path. So just wondering, since the name is YouScience, how do you communicate that? That is a really good point, Jill. I can't tell you how many times I will talk to a school and I'll say, hey, you have access to YouScience. It was purchased by your district. And they'll go, oh, I'm not a science teacher. And they completely shut down immediately. And I'm like, it's a little misleading. I understand that. So yes, one thing that I will do when I get that, I'm not a science teacher, I'm not interested, or, maybe I'll get you in touch with my science teacher instead. I just have to explain that, it's about the science of a person. We're not looking at a science curriculum. We're actually looking at how your brain functions, how you look at work, how you look at careers. When you're given a problem, how does your brain immediately go to solve that? And so one of the other questions in here is, how long is the assessment? It's a 90-minute assessment for high schoolers. It's a 60-minute assessment for middle schoolers. And a lot of teachers, Elisa, I know when I was teaching 90 minutes of class time, are you crazy? I can't do that. Like that's nuts. But I think the value of being able to, one, break it up into chunks. You can do each brain game a day, do one a day, and it's going to take you less than 15 minutes. You can break it into chunks. It saves the students progress. They can start it at school. They can finish it at home. There's a ton of flexibility to getting students to actually put in that time. But the value that you get out of the assessment for the rest of the school year and into their high school careers and into their post-secondary careers, like you said, Elisa, this is what's best for kids. And I think, getting over that it's just a science thing it's so much more than that. It's showing plenty of careers in hospitality and in retail. We have over 500 careers in our database. Students will see their strongest fit first, and then some of their good fits and some of their weak fits. We show them a whole lot of different opportunities and connections for them, so they can really hone in on what they find to be most appealing. And they can click through each of the careers to figure out, what does a day in the life look like for that? What kind of education investment do I need to look at to go into this? What are the daily tasks that I'm going to have to do? What kind of financial investment is this? So there's a lot of information that comes from the YouScience assessment. So I know it's 90 minutes up front for high schoolers, but there's so much more that comes with it for 10 years that, to me, 90 minutes it's a piece of cake. I hope that answers your question.
Are there any more questions out there from our participants? And any other comments or questions for our panel to each other or to Jerica? Anything else that we might want to touch on?
I did see a question. Is there a job shadow component? When the employer creates that card in YouScience, when they are able to say, and I think I've got a picture of it up here. When they create this card here, so here's 3 M's, what the student will do is they'll be able to actually click on this little arrow button, and it'll take them to a screen that shows the career opportunities available for them. What the employer can do is they can actually check boxes to connect to students. They can say, I'm going to offer an apprenticeship, or I'm going to offer a full or part-time job, or I'm going to offer like a job shadow opportunity. So all of that is just on the employer side, where they're going to choose and select what kinds of talent they're looking for. So I hope that answers that.
Jerica, are you seeing any others in the chat?
I'm just doing a quick scroll just to see. I love that you're offering YouScience to adults going back. Alicia, that's awesome. Great feedback so far. Excellent to hear. How involved is the chamber in the educators? So educators who follow up with, what do you do to follow up with students? How involved is the chamber in that process? So yeah, Elisa, to look at the educator's perspective of things, what does follow-up look like once they take the brain games? Obviously, you said you're going to do a career day or a career night. Is there anything else, and how does the chamber involve themselves, if at all?
One big component is helping us align industry speakers to coordinate with each of those areas. And they're also participating in that career fair night and helping us, you know, we have North Alabama Works as well as both chambers helping us with those. And then follow-up speakers for those lunch and learns when we have those junior high 8th graders coming in and meeting with those to learn more, get a little more in-depth knowledge about specific careers to, you know, and those pathways that fall into those.
Thank you. Katie Eaton has asked, what are the costs like for this program? So I can give kind of a brief detail of that, or a brief overview of cost. Generally, our cost for a standard school is going to be $2,000 for a high school to have access and $1,500 for a middle school. That will include unlimited students, unlimited teachers, unlimited reports. Everything is turned on for that one cost. We also offer for some of our more rural and smaller schools with, I believe, less than 200 students. So if you have less than 200 full-time enrolled, we have some special pricing that we can look at. But overall, you're looking at about $2,000 that covers you for the full year, unlimited access. Great question, Katie. And if you're interested in purchasing, if you wanted to see if that was something that would apply to you, if you wanted to get a quote, I'd be happy to work with you on that. I'll go ahead and put my contact information up here on the screen in case you need that. Feel free to copy it down or shoot me an email.
I would just add to a lot of chambers have foundations. And so if you do, it's a great way to utilize your foundation, because being kind of that go between the business community and your education partners kind of helps with that barrier that was mentioned by Susan. You know, the chamber can really help facilitate those relationships and really push the program. And, you know, I think that's helpful. So any questions that you all might have, feel free to reach out to Amber and myself.
Jerica, there's one more question from Corey Milton, if you want to go ahead and address that one, and then I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was actually just typing that out. It's $2,000 for a high school and $1,500 for a middle school. So yeah, I would say if you have questions, because Crystal, great point. If you've got those foundations, if you've got partners, grants, there's tons of schools that I work with that write grants in order to provide the YouScience assessment. So there's definitely plenty of different ways that you can go about getting that funding. But if you've got questions about that, reach out to me or someone at the chamber to figure out, how did you guys do it? How did you make it work? Because that is an investment over time of saying, you know, we want to provide this for the schools. It can be tricky. So if there are other options, $1,500 per year for middle school, does that cover several years? It's $1,500 per year. So the cost is per school per year. That's what we're looking at here. But yeah, absolutely feel free to reach out to us, ask how we did it, and hopefully you can, you know, kind of copycat or mold it and make it your own.
Well, that's terrific. And we know chambers are great at replicating success. So we appreciate everybody spending the hour with us, sharing the successful partnership that you all put together. I want to thank Crystal and her team for being a part of this. Chambers love to learn from each other. Jerica, I want to thank YouScience, not only for your support of ACCE, but for all of our members. we appreciate that, and we really appreciate this robust conversation today. So thank you to all of the speakers on our panel. Again, I want to also thank our participants and remind them that they will be receiving a recording of this conversation so that they can refer back to that and share it. And with that, I'm going to say I hope we can all get back together for another Partner Solutions webinar somewhere down the road. Thank you all for your time today, and I hope you have a great remainder of the week. Stay well, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.